In a quaint coastal town near Rio de Janeiro, where the sun kissed the shoreline and life seemed to flow gently like the waves, lived a couple whose love story appeared idyllic on the surface. Joao Moreira, a diligent man known for his unwavering work ethic, devoted his life to providing for his wife, Mariana Silva. They were married for several years, but as the tide of time ebbed and flowed, so too did the warmth in their relationship. What had once been a partnership of shared dreams and laughter began to fracture under the weight of unspoken words and growing distance. Mariana was a striking woman, full of life and passion. However, in the routine of their daily lives, she began to feel an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Joao, consumed by his work and responsibilities, often found himself coming home late, too tired to notice the change in Mariana's demeanor. As weeks turned into months, Mariana's heart ached for connection. It was during this vulnerable time that she sought solace in her faith, visiting the local church more frequently. The gentle warmth of the congregation and the comfort of prayer became her refuge. It was at the church where Mariana first met Father Felipe, a charismatic priest with a comforting presence. He was known for his ability to listen and offer wise counsel, a trait that drew Mariana in like a moth to a flame. Initially, their conversations were innocent, discussions about faith, community, and the struggles of life. However, as Mariana continued to confide in him, their discussions began to touch on more personal matters. Father Felipe was attentive, his piercing blue eyes seeming to understand the depths of her sorrow. He became the confidant she had longed for, a figure who could fill the void Joao had unintentionally left. As the days passed, the nature of their conversations shifted. Mariana found herself opening up about her feelings of isolation in her marriage, the unfulfilled desires, and the yearning for affection. Father Felipe, in turn, shared his own burdens, the loneliness of his vocation, the pressures of his role within the church, and the struggles of maintaining faith in a world filled with temptations. The lines between spiritual guidance and emotional intimacy began to blur, and before long, they crossed a line that would alter the course of their lives irrevocably. The affair began with stolen moments, glances that lingered a second too long, gentle touches that sent shivers down Mariana's spine. They met in the secluded corners of the church, where the outside world faded away, and they could exist in their own bubble, free from judgment. What started as a connection born of loneliness and longing spiraled into a passionate relationship, hidden beneath the facade of piety. Mariana felt alive for the first time in years, and Father Felipe seemed to breathe life into her weary soul. Yet, amid the thrill of their secret, a dark cloud loomed, a reminder of the life Mariana had left behind. Joao, meanwhile, remained oblivious to the growing chasm in his marriage. He continued to work tirelessly, believing that his dedication would eventually rekindle the flame between him and Mariana. However, as the weeks turned into months, he could no longer ignore the signs. Mariana's late nights and unexplained absences became increasingly suspicious. He felt a gnawing sense of unease, an instinct that something was amiss. To protect his heart and seek the truth, Joao made a fateful decision. He installed hidden cameras in their home, vowing to uncover the truth behind his wife's strange behavior. As the camera footage rolled, Joao's heart raced with anxiety and trepidation. He knew he was crossing a line by invading Mariana's privacy, yet desperation clouded his judgment. Each day after work, he would anxiously review the recordings, hoping to find evidence of his worst fears. As the days passed, the footage revealed a chilling truth. Mariana and Father Felipe were engaged in intimate moments, their passion undeniable and their betrayal profound. Joao's heart shattered as he watched the evidence unfold before his eyes. The woman he loved, his partner in life, had found solace in the arms of another. Instead of confronting them immediately, Joao's heart filled with a cold fury. The betrayal stung deeper than any physical wound, and he felt an overwhelming desire for revenge. He envisioned a plan, one that would expose their treachery to the world and deliver the punishment he believed they deserved. Joao began to meticulously craft his scheme, one that would unravel the lives of those who had wronged him in the most painful way imaginable. He chose a Sunday morning for his revelation, a day when the church would be filled with the faithful seeking solace in their beliefs. As Father Felipe stood at the pulpit, delivering a sermon about forgiveness and redemption, Joao's heart raced with anticipation. He had arranged for the incriminating footage to be projected on a large screen behind the altar, ensuring that the entire congregation would bear witness to the dark secret that had been hidden in the shadows. As the video began to play, gasps erupted from the congregation. The room, filled with the scent of incense and the sound of whispered prayers, fell into stunned silence. Joao stood at the back, his heart pounding, feeling both exhilarated and sickened by what he had done. The shame and betrayal that had festered within him for so long spilled out into the open, exposing the raw wounds of love and deception. Mariana's face turned pale as she recognized the footage, her eyes wide with horror. Father Felipe's composed demeanor shattered, replaced by disbelief and shame as he faced the scandalous revelation of his affair with Joao's wife. The fallout from Joao's public revelation was swift and brutal. The congregation, once united in faith, became a community divided by scandal and betrayal. Mariana, stripped of her dignity, faced the scorn of those she had once considered friends. Father Felipe, once a respected figure within the community, was expelled from the church in disgrace, his reputation tarnished forever. In the aftermath, Joao and Mariana's marriage crumbled under the weight of betrayal, leading to a swift divorce that left scars on both their souls. As time passed, whispers of the affair continued to circulate in the town, painting Mariana as a pariah and Felipe as a man without honor. Despite their attempts to move on, rumors persisted that Mariana and Father Felipe had continued their illicit relationship in secret, driven by a desire that refused to be extinguished. The web of lies and deceit they had woven tightened around them, suffocating any chance of redemption. Yet, as the dust settled on their scandalous affair, the story took a darker turn. 2 years later, Joao mysteriously disappeared. His family, alarmed by his absence, reported him missing to the local authorities. The peaceful coastal town, once a haven of tranquility, was now shrouded in darkness as a police investigation unfolded. As detectives began to piece together Joao's last known movements, they uncovered a chilling mystery that would reveal the true depths of betrayal and revenge. The sun had set on a beautiful day in Rio, casting long shadows across the shoreline, but this evening felt different, laden with an ominous weight. As his loved ones searched for answers, the town grappled with the unsettling reality that a man who once embodied hard work and dedication had vanished without a trace, and the secrets of the past were about to resurface with deadly consequences. The coastal town, once thriving with life and laughter, now lay under a cloud of uncertainty following Joao Moreira's mysterious disappearance. Friends and family gathered in worried huddles, exchanging hushed whispers and fearful glances. The local authorities quickly mobilized, launching a comprehensive search for the man whose life had become entangled in a web of betrayal and revenge. As days turned into weeks, the urgency to find Joao escalated, drawing the attention of the entire community. Detective Maria Vasquez was assigned to the case, a seasoned investigator known for her keen intuition and relentless pursuit of justice. She arrived in the town, her sharp eyes scanning the familiar surroundings with a new perspective. The serene beauty of the coastal landscape now seemed deceptively calm, masking the turbulent emotions brewing beneath the surface. Maria understood that every case had its nuances, and she was determined to uncover the truth hidden in the shadows of Joao's life. As she began her investigation, Maria interviewed Joao's family and friends, piecing together the puzzle of his last known whereabouts. They painted a picture of a man deeply affected by the unraveling of his marriage. Joao had once been a pillar of strength, but the public humiliation and betrayal had taken a toll on his spirit. Friends recalled seeing him frequently at the local bar, nursing his sorrows and reflecting on the choices that had led him to this point. As they spoke, Maria noted the mixture of sympathy and guilt in their voices, as if they were all complicit in the events that had unfolded. Rumors about Joao's fate swirled in the town. Some speculated that he had fled, unable to bear the weight of his shattered life. Others whispered of foul play, suggesting that Father Felipe, now living in the shadows after his disgrace, might have had a hand in Joao's disappearance. Maria considered the implications of these theories but chose to remain focused on the facts. She knew that a thorough investigation was essential to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The detective's first step was to delve into Joao's digital life. She requested access to his phone records, emails, and social media accounts, hoping to find any clues that could lead to his whereabouts. As she combed through the data, Maria discovered a series of text messages between Joao and a close friend. They spoke of Joao's frustration and anger toward Father Felipe, expressing a desire for revenge but also revealing moments of doubt and despair. Joao had confided in his friend about feeling lost and contemplating what his life had become after the scandal. In one of the texts, Joao had mentioned a meeting with an unnamed individual, discussing a potential plan to confront Father Felipe. The message, though vague, sent a shiver down Maria's spine. It was a thread she needed to pull. Who had Joao intended to meet? What were the details of this confrontation? Determined to find answers, she reached out to Joao's friend, hoping to gather more information. The friend, visibly shaken by the recent events, recounted how Joao had been increasingly consumed by thoughts of revenge. He felt betrayed, detective, he said, his voice trembling. He believed that exposing Felipe wasn't enough, he wanted to make him suffer for what he had done to him and Mariana. It's like he was spiraling into darkness. Maria nodded, understanding the emotional toll that betrayal can take on a person. It was a pain that could cloud judgment and lead to desperate actions. As she continued her investigation, Maria also sought out Father Felipe. The once respected priest was now a shadow of his former self, living in isolation as the community shunned him. He had become a figure of scorn, a man whose reputation had crumbled under the weight of his own choices. Maria found him in a dilapidated apartment on the outskirts of town, a far cry from the sacred walls of the church where he once preached. His eyes reflected a mixture of fear and defiance as he reluctantly agreed to speak with her. "Detective, I have nothing to hide," Felipe insisted, his voice trembling slightly. "Yes, I made mistakes, but I am not a monster. I didn't harm Joao." Maria studied him closely, searching for any sign of deception. His demeanor was conflicted, anger simmered beneath the surface, mixed with a flicker of vulnerability. It was clear that the events of the past 2 years had affected him deeply, but she needed to know more. "What can you tell me about your relationship with Joao?" she asked directly. "He mentioned plans to confront you before he went missing." Felipe's expression hardened at the mention of Joao's name, the bitterness rising within him. "I knew he would come for me," he replied, his voice cold. "He thought exposing me was enough, but I was left with nothing. Do you have any idea how that felt? I lost my career, my purpose, all because of his actions." Maria pressed further, "Did you see him? Did you have any encounters before he vanished?" Felipe hesitated, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. "I didn't see him, but I did receive a threatening message from him a few days before he disappeared. He wanted to meet, to confront me about everything. I was scared, but I didn't think he would actually go through with it." The detective felt a chill at his words. Was Joao's anger leading him down a dangerous path? With this new information, Maria focused on the timeline of events leading up to Joao's disappearance. She needed to gather concrete evidence that could either implicate Felipe or exonerate him. The investigation soon turned to examining Joao's movements in the days leading to his vanishing act. Surveillance footage from local businesses was reviewed, revealing Joao visiting various places in town, bars, grocery stores, and eventually, a remote part of the coastline. One particular piece of footage caught Maria's attention. Joao was seen at the beach, talking to a shadowy figure just before sunset on the day he disappeared. The individual was obscured, but it appeared to be a man. Maria's instincts kicked in. She needed to identify this person and understand what transpired during their conversation. The beach, with its rolling waves and crashing surf, became a focal point of her investigation. It was a place of beauty that now held dark secrets. As the search for Joao continued, Maria uncovered further unsettling evidence. An anonymous tip led her to an abandoned house a few miles outside of town. The building had been neglected, its windows boarded up, creating an atmosphere of decay and desolation. The detectives arrived, armed with flashlights, feeling a sense of foreboding as they stepped inside. The air was stale, and the floorboards creaked beneath their weight, echoing the silence that enveloped the space. In the dim light, they stumbled upon a chilling discovery, a series of remnants that suggested Joao had been there. Personal items, including a watch and a torn shirt, lay scattered across the floor. Most disturbingly, traces of blood were found, indicating that a struggle had occurred. The detectives exchanged worried glances, the gravity of the situation sinking in. This was no longer just a case of a missing person, it had taken a sinister turn. Maria's mind raced with the possibilities. Had Joao confronted Father Felipe here? Did the confrontation turn violent? The investigation now had a new urgency. As they combed through the house, they discovered a hidden room at the back. It was small and dark, filled with discarded furniture and debris. However, amidst the clutter, they found something that would change the course of their investigation, a personal diary, seemingly belonging to Father Felipe. The diary contained pages filled with Felipe's thoughts and reflections, revealing a man tormented by his actions. It included detailed accounts of his relationship with Mariana, the guilt that consumed him, and the anger he felt toward Joao for ruining his life. The final entries hinted at a plan, one driven by revenge and desperation, and it was clear that the priest had been spiraling further into darkness. As Maria examined the diary, her heart raced. It contained confessions and fears, but it also hinted at a dark intent, one that suggested Father Felipe had become a man consumed by hatred. With the evidence mounting against him, Maria understood that the truth was closer than ever, but it came with a heavy price. Returning to the precinct, Maria felt a growing sense of urgency. She needed to connect the dots, to uncover the final pieces of this tragic puzzle before it was too late. The clock was ticking, and with each moment, the chances of finding Joao alive dwindled. The path ahead was fraught with danger, betrayal, and the haunting possibility of revenge, a reminder that even the most tranquil of towns could harbor the darkest of secrets. As Detective Maria Vasquez delved deeper into the layers of betrayal that surrounded Joao Moreira's disappearance, the pieces of the puzzle began to come together. The evidence collected from the abandoned house and the insights gleaned from Father Felipe's diary painted a vivid picture of a man pushed to the edge. But the question remained, where was Joao, and what had truly transpired in those final moments leading up to his vanishing act? With the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on her, Maria returned to the precinct, determined to analyze the diary more thoroughly. The pages were filled with contradictions, confessions of guilt intertwined with hints of resentment and anger. As she read, one particular entry stood out, dated just a day before Joao's disappearance. Felipe wrote about feeling trapped, isolated from the world and burdened by his actions. He lamented losing everything: his position in the church, the respect of his community, and the affection of Mariana. The anger he felt toward Joao, who had exposed him, became palpable on the pages, a simmering rage that threatened to boil over. "People don't understand what it's like to be shunned," he had written. "They don't see the darkness that consumes you. Joao took everything from me, and I won't let him have the last laugh. There are consequences for actions, and I'm ready to face them." Maria closed the diary, a chill running down her spine. These words hinted at a dangerous man, one willing to go to great lengths to reclaim his life, even if it meant crossing moral lines that should never be breached. The idea that Joao may have confronted Felipe, and that the situation escalated to violence, seemed increasingly likely. But where did that leave them now? She had to act fast to uncover the truth and bring closure to a community reeling from grief and uncertainty. Maria decided it was time to revisit the last known location where Joao had been spotted, the beach where the mysterious figure had met with him. The salty air whipped against her face as she arrived, the waves crashing rhythmically against the shore. It was a place of stark beauty, but today it felt ominous, as if the land itself held the secrets of Joao's fate. After speaking with the locals, Maria learned about a fisherman who often worked near the area. They described him as a quiet man, one who kept to himself but had a good eye for observing the comings and goings of the town. Maria approached him, hoping he might have seen something unusual on the day Joao vanished. "Excuse me, sir," Maria began, her tone respectful yet firm. "I'm looking for information about a man who went missing not too long ago. Joao Moreira. He was last seen around here. Did you happen to see him that day?" The fisherman squinted against the sun, contemplating her question. "Yeah, I remember him," he replied slowly. "He was here, talking to someone. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it was odd. The guy he was with, he had a priest's collar." Maria's heart raced at his words. "A priest? Are you sure?" The fisherman nodded. "I know it sounds strange, but it wasn't just any priest, it was that Father Felipe. They seemed pretty heated, arguing about something. I didn't want to get involved, but it was hard not to notice." This new information sent shockwaves through Maria. It confirmed her suspicions that Joao had confronted Felipe at the beach, where emotions ran high and tempers flared. "Did you see where they went?" she pressed, hoping for more details. After a while, they moved toward that old cabin up the coast. He gestured toward a dilapidated structure barely visible in the distance. "I thought it was odd, but you know how it is, people have their reasons for going to places like that." Maria's mind raced as she processed the implications. If Joao and Felipe had met at the cabin, it was possible that whatever transpired there could provide crucial evidence in the investigation. She thanked the fisherman and set off toward the cabin, determination propelling her forward. Upon arriving at the cabin, Maria's heart sank. It was abandoned, the door hanging loosely on its hinges, and the windows shattered, revealing a haunting emptiness within. The air felt heavy with memories and unspoken words, echoing the pain of what had likely occurred. Steeling herself, Maria stepped inside, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The interior was in disarray, remnants of a past life scattered across the floor, broken furniture, decaying walls, and dust that had settled over time. But amid the clutter, Maria spotted something glimmering beneath a pile of debris. She knelt down to investigate, uncovering a small, silver pendant, Joao's. It was unmistakably his, and finding it here sent a chill down her spine. This was evidence that linked him to this place, a grim reminder of the confrontation that had taken place. Her heart racing, Maria began to search the cabin more thoroughly. As she rifled through the remains of what might have once been a cozy retreat, she stumbled upon a blood-stained piece of fabric caught on a jagged piece of wood. The fabric matched the torn shirt Joao had been wearing on the day of his disappearance. The evidence was mounting, but it also raised the stakes. This was no longer just a missing person case, it was becoming a potential murder investigation. As Maria exited the cabin, the weight of her discoveries settled on her shoulders. She needed to confront Father Felipe with the evidence she had gathered, but she also needed to proceed carefully. With emotions running high and a community yearning for justice, the last thing she wanted was to ignite a firestorm of chaos. Back at the precinct, Maria assembled her team to prepare for the next steps. "We need to bring Felipe in for questioning," she declared, her voice resolute. "The evidence is mounting against him, and we need to get to the bottom of this before the situation escalates further." The atmosphere in the precinct shifted, the urgency palpable as they gathered their findings. Maria presented the fisherman's account, the discovery of Joao's pendant, and the bloodied fabric. The detectives nodded in agreement, recognizing that they were on the cusp of breaking the case wide open. Felipe would have to face the consequences of his actions, and the truth of Joao's fate would finally be revealed. As they prepared for the confrontation, Maria felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. She understood that the truth could shatter lives, both Felipe's and Mariana's. The repercussions of their actions were far-reaching, and the consequences of betrayal and revenge were about to come full circle. When the detectives arrived at Felipe's apartment, they were met with a cold silence that matched the foreboding atmosphere. Maria took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. The moment of truth was at hand, and as they knocked on the door, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to unravel the final threads of a tragic tale, one that intertwined love, loss, and the dark depths of human emotion. As the detectives knocked on Father Felipe's door, a heavy silence hung in the air, almost as if the apartment itself was holding its breath, waiting for the truth to surface. Maria felt a surge of adrenaline as she prepared for the confrontation. The events leading up to this moment had been a roller coaster of emotions, with each revelation deepening the mystery surrounding Joao Moreira's disappearance. Now, they were on the brink of uncovering the truth behind the tragedy that had unfolded in their once peaceful town. When Felipe opened the door, his expression was a mixture of surprise and apprehension. He immediately sensed the gravity of the situation as Maria and her team stepped into his modest living space. The room was cluttered, reflecting the turmoil of the man who had once stood as a pillar of the community. Crumpled papers lay strewn across the table, and the scent of stale coffee lingered in the air. Maria's instincts told her that Felipe was a man at war with himself, and she needed to tread carefully. "Father Felipe," Maria began, her tone firm yet composed. "We need to ask you some questions regarding Joao Moreira's disappearance. Evidence has come to light that suggests you may have had an involvement." Felipe's eyes narrowed, a flicker of indignation flashing across his face. "Involvement? I have no idea what you're talking about. Joao is a man consumed by his own anger. He's made it clear he holds me responsible for his wife's infidelity, but I did nothing to him." Maria sensed that he was trying to maintain his composure, but his voice betrayed an underlying tension. "We have evidence that suggests otherwise. We know about the confrontation that took place at the cabin. Witnesses have placed you there with Joao the day he disappeared." For a moment, Felipe appeared to consider his words carefully, a conflicted look passing over his features. "That was a heated discussion," he finally admitted. "Joao was furious, and I was scared. But I didn't harm him, I wouldn't do that. I'm a priest. I'm bound by my vows." "Then you won't mind us searching your apartment," Maria countered, her voice unwavering. She gestured for her team to begin their investigation while she continued to engage him. "We need to find the truth, Father. For Joao's family, for your sake as well. As the detectives combed through Felipe's belongings, Maria pressed him further. What exactly did you discuss with Joao? Did you threaten him? Did he threaten you? Felipe's expression darkened, and he struggled to maintain his composure. He was out of control. I was trying to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. He wanted revenge for everything I took from him. But I swear, I did not harm him. Maria could see the cracks in Felipe's facade, the tension in his body language revealing more than his words. You say you didn't harm him, but the evidence we found suggests otherwise. We discovered Joao's pendant and a piece of his clothing at the cabin, along with signs of a struggle. Felipe's face went pale at the mention of the pendant. I didn't mean for things to go that far. I thought we could talk it out, but he was out of control. When he lunged at me, I panicked. Panic doesn't justify violence, Father, Maria interjected, her voice steady. If you didn't harm Joao, where is he? You need to tell us what really happened that day. The tension in the room thickened, and Maria could feel the weight of the moment. Felipe's gaze dropped to the floor, his shoulders sagging under the burden of his guilt. I didn't want it to end like this. I was desperate. Joao had become a threat to me. He was ruining my life. But I never meant to kill him. What happened? Maria pressed, her voice low but insistent. Tell me the truth. Felipe took a shaky breath, his resolve crumbling. When he lunged at me, I pushed him away, and he fell. I didn't think he would hit his head. I panicked. I thought he was just unconscious. I didn't know what to do, so I ran. I was scared of what people would think. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to protect myself. The admission hung in the air, heavy with the weight of its implications. Maria felt a mix of emotions, anger, sympathy, and sadness for a life that had spiraled out of control. You need to tell us where Joao is, Felipe. It's not too late to do the right thing. As the detectives continued to search the apartment, Maria's heart raced with the realization that they might finally be on the brink of uncovering the truth. Felipe's confession, though incomplete, pointed them in the right direction. But she needed to ensure that they could substantiate his claims. I hid his body, Felipe whispered, the words spilling from his lips like a dam breaking. I didn't want anyone to find out. I thought if I just got rid of it, maybe it would all just go away. Where? Maria demanded, her voice rising with urgency. Where did you hide him? Felipe hesitated, tears welling in his eyes as he grappled with the enormity of his actions. There's an old storage facility near the coast. I thought it would be the safest place to hide him. I thought I could figure it out later. With a grim determination, Maria and her team sprang into action, knowing that time was of the essence. They needed to verify Felipe's claims before he could change his story or further entrench himself in deception. The drive to the storage facility was fraught with tension. Maria's mind raced with the implications of what they might discover. If Joao's body was indeed there, it would confirm the darkest fears of his family and friends. It would also bring the community face to face with the tragic consequences of betrayal and revenge, a cycle of pain that had spiraled out of control. Upon arriving at the facility, Maria felt a surge of adrenaline as they approached the dimly lit building. The air was thick with anticipation, and the shadows loomed large, echoing the darkness that had consumed so many lives in the town. They moved with purpose, each member of the team prepared for what they might find. Inside the facility, they quickly located the unit Felipe had described. The door was rusted and worn, but as Maria pulled it open, her heart raced. The sight that greeted her was nothing short of horrifying. The room was filled with discarded furniture and boxes, but in the corner, partially obscured by debris, was a body bag, evidence of the horror that had unfolded. Maria felt her stomach churn as she approached the bag. The reality of the situation hit her like a tidal wave. The repercussions of Felipe's actions had led to a life being extinguished, and no amount of regret could change that. She turned to her team, nodding for them to proceed with caution. They needed to confirm the identity of the body inside. As they carefully unzipped the bag, the air grew heavy with the gravity of the moment. When they revealed Joao's lifeless body, the reality of the tragedy struck them all. The young man who had been a victim of betrayal and desperation now lay before them, silenced forever by the very emotions that had driven him to seek revenge. Maria stepped back, overwhelmed by the sense of loss that permeated the room. This was the consequence of betrayal, the culmination of a love turned sour and a life cut short by anger and revenge. The images of Joao's laughter and his once vibrant spirit flashed through her mind. The small-town scandal had spiraled into a tragedy that would haunt them all. As they began the process of documenting the scene, Maria felt a sense of closure for Joao's family, who had been left in anguish and uncertainty. They would finally have answers, but the pain of losing him would echo through their lives forever. Later that evening, as she prepared her report, Maria reflected on the complexities of human emotions, the love that can transform into hatred, the despair that can lead to desperate actions, and the consequences of choices made in the heat of passion. Father Felipe would face justice for his actions, but the scars left on the community would take much longer to heal. The story of Joao Moreira, Mariana Silva, and Father Felipe had become a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragile nature of trust and the devastating effects of betrayal. As Maria concluded her report, she hoped that the truth would serve as a wake-up call for those who found themselves entangled in similar situations, a reminder that love, when twisted by despair, could lead to a darkness that consumed everything in its path. The coastal town, forever changed by the events that had unfolded, would remember the tragedy of Joao Moreira, a man who sought love and found betrayal instead. And in that remembrance, perhaps the community could find a way to heal, to rebuild, and to learn from the shadows of their past.